Late. I've had a emergency of the most urgent manner. I lost my cell phone at lunch, but we're tracking it down. So I apologize. Y'all know how big of a crisis that is, but we're going to get it tracked down.
Did you call it?
So, no comments from the peanut gallery. So we do have a busy day. We are going to start with bill introductions. Senator Shane.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to introduce two bills today. The first is 25 RS 0584, an act concerning school districts relating to the approval and issuance of bonds and approval of tax levies, requiring question-submitted elections for such approvals be conducted only on primary or general election dates.
Committee, are there any objections to that bill introduction? Seeing none.
The next is 25 RS 0498. And this is an act concerning education relating to school employment contracts.
Committee, any objection to that bill being introduced? Seeing none. Senator Petty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a bill introduction. It's 25 RS 0564, and this is on seizure education in our schools, and I'm introducing this on behalf of the Epilepsy Foundation of Kansas and Missouri.
Thank you, Senator. Any objection to the introduction of that bill? Seeing none, that bill is accepted. Senator Blasey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a bill introduction as well, RS 0898, which requires schools to adopt policies and procedures to prohibit students from using privately owned electronic devices during school hours.
Is there any objection to that bill being introduced? Seeing none, are there any other bill introductions? You would think we were getting close to a deadline or something. Okay, thank you. Committee, we are going to, due to the schedule of the House, we are going to change the order of our agenda for this afternoon. We will start with a presentation by the Leslie Rudd Scholarship Program. Oh, I am so sorry. Go ahead, come on up. I apologize, Senator Gossage. We do have a point of personal privilege.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I would like to introduce to our committee members JAG-K groups, and one group is from Eudora. Stand up. Yay! And then right behind them is the group from Baser. Welcome.
Welcome to Senate Education. Oh, I believe we have another point of personal privilege. Senator Starnes.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'd like to welcome and not just speak very much about them because we'll be speaking about them on the Senate floor in recognition, but from Manhattan High School, the Civics Club. Welcome.
Would you please stand? Welcome to committee. Any other acknowledgements? Seeing none, thank you for your patience. Please introduce yourself and begin. Is the microphone on? Is the button on there?
There we go.
Okay, thank you.
Better? Okay. And we do have some slides to put up, if those are available. If not, no problem. We've got a handout, so.
We will try to catch up if you want to
Okay,
go ahead and
perfect.
start. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, my name is Angie Gregory, and I am General Counsel of the Rudd Foundation, Leslie Rudd Investment Company, and Standard Beverage Corporation. I am joined by my colleague, Corey Roberts, who is the Vice President of Rudd Foundation. We are honored to be here today to share with the committee about our Rudd Scholars Program and the successful partnerships we have built with 4 partnering state universities and are thankful for the opportunity to do so. We are happy to answer any questions you might have throughout our presentation or at the end. Briefly, as background, Leslie Rudd was the visionary of the Rudd Foundation and its Rudd Scholars Program. Leslie was a successful entrepreneur from Wichita, Kansas, who was instrumental in founding and operating a number of successful businesses, including Standard Beverage Corporation. Standard Beverage, originally founded by Leslie's parents, Sam and Eleanor Rudd, in 1949, is an alcohol beverage distributor that has been operating throughout the state for more than 75 years. Leslie began his career with this family business in 1965, eventually becoming president in 1974 and leading the business until his passing in 2018. In 1994, Leslie created the Rudd Foundation, which served as a means to support many charitable organizations and endeavors, including creation of the Rudd Family Entrepreneurial Fund at Wichita State University and the Rudd Center for Food Policy, now at the University of Connecticut. However, Leslie's primary vision was a college scholarship program designed to educate and retain some of the best and brightest young people in the state of Kansas. His hope was that by doing so, the program would foster the next generation of leaders in all walks of life in Kansas. Prior to his passing, a key aspect of his estate plan was to ensure that the program was created and funded. He entrusted a board of his family members and trusted business partners and advisors to ensure that this vision became a reality. My colleague, Corey Roberts, again Vice President of Rudd Foundation and the leader of the Rudd Scholars Program, will share some specifics about the program itself. Corey has built the program from day one and will be happy to share her experience with you.
Thank you, Angie. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, committee members. I am so excited to be here today to talk to you a little bit about our Rudd Scholar Program. The program itself is a last dollar scholarship program, which means it covers all costs obtained with a 4-year undergraduate degree. This includes tuition fees, books and supplies, and room and board for all 4 years. We come in and pick up all remaining costs after federal aid and other scholarships are applied. We partner with the 4 amazing universities here in Kansas, Emporia State, Fort Hays, Kansas State, and Wichita State University. However, the funding is just the beginning. What sets us apart with our scholarship program is the element of what we like to call beyond the dollar. We built this program on 4 pillars of development for our scholars. These pillars are support, mentorship, professional development, and giving back. We pride ourselves in building a strong community through these pillars. We like to call it our Rudd Scholar family. Scholars have the opportunity for monthly coaching meetings, campus activities, free mental health services, mentorship programs, internship, job shadowing opportunities, monthly philanthropic events, and continuous volunteer opportunities. Our team, which is 6 of us, work directly with the scholars and have different topics depending on where they are in their academic journey. Some of these include transitioning from high school to college, setting a strong foundation for academic success, and getting them ready to graduate, whether it be financial literacy or the job search process. Our program is truly beyond the dollar, beyond the classroom, and beyond the degree. Our selection process. Our scholars are selected through a rigorous selection process, which includes a lengthy application, 2 essays, and letters of recommendation, as well as their high school resume. We average about 650 applications submitted each year, and from this applicant pool, we select 70 finalists that we interview in person in Wichita. From this interview, we narrow that down to our 50 winners each year. To be eligible, you must be a Kansas resident, graduating that particular year, and planning to enroll full-time in one of our partner universities in the fall. Have a cumulative GPA of a 3.0 and submit an ACT or SAT score. You also must demonstrate financial need determined by your Pell Grant eligibility, but most importantly, we're looking for those qualities that Leslie identified: grit, determination, work ethic, and the desire to succeed. We prioritize first-generation students where possible. We also emphasize that the scholars can pursue any degree of study that they would like, and our goal is really for them to pursue their passions without the debt that they would have upon graduation. Our initial cohort was a cohort of 20 students, which was selected in 2018 and announced 3 days prior to Leslie's passing. As far as our scholars go, since the inception of this program, we have offered 213 full-ride scholarships in Kansas with an approximate investment of $10 million for direct support for these individuals as well as the partnering universities. We are represented in 65 of the 105 counties. We're working really hard to get in all 105, so we'll celebrate when that day comes, so hopefully soon. And then once they are scholars, they do need to maintain that 3.0 GPA. Currently, we average a 3.7 GPA amongst our scholars in their academic progress. Also, our scholars are required to graduate in 4 years. We are at 100% for that, and actually 29% of our scholars are graduating in 3.5 years or better with our support. We require them to live on campus all 4 years, and through that, we have built very strong communities on each campus and have really seen the impact and the importance of that on-campus housing for their success and engagement in their particular schools. We are proud to say that we have a 93% retention rate, and our graduates are in diverse careers, anywhere from teachers, nurses, doctors, engineers, computer science, and many, many more. And true to Leslie's vision, approximately 88% of our 79 alumni have chosen to stay in Kansas post-graduation. So what comes next for the foundation? Our focus continues to be on improving our Red Scholars program and its impact on the scholars and partnering universities and really overall the state of Kansas. We have increased our award to 50 new scholarships each year, resulting in supporting 200 active scholars annually. We're also focused on developing a robust alumni program as our program continues to grow, and our scholars really have a desire to give back to what they were involved in and give back to the foundation as mentors. We know that being part of the Red Scholar family does not stop at graduation. As you can see, we're incredibly proud of our program and the scholars, and we truly represent Kansas, and we're honored to be part of their journey. Leslie's vision was one that was very remarkable. He really wanted to give back to the state, and no doubt he would be incredibly proud of this program and the impact that it's had, not just on each individual, but as Kansas as a whole.
And ladies, if you could wrap up, please.
Yes, just as a final comment, we just wanted to again express our gratitude to the committee for this opportunity to share about the foundation. We do not have any request of the committee, but simply just wanted to make you aware of this incredible opportunity for Kansas students and let you know that we share your goal of keeping the best and brightest of Kansas in state as future state leaders. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And can you make sure that the committee assistant has your contact information if committee members would like to reach out and ask any additional questions?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that information. Committee, we're going to turn our attention to the confirmation hearing at this time. We have one new appointment for today. It will be Kathy Wolfmore, Regent, Kansas Board of Regents, to serve a 4-year term expiring June 30th, 2025. We will let Ms. Wolfmore share a little bit about herself. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Chair Erickson, Vice Chair Thomas, Ranking Member Sykes, and the other members of the committee. I have to tell you that it does feel a little odd being on this side of the podium, and I much prefer your side of the podium. That being said, my name is Kathy Wolfmore, and I'm honored to be here today to be considered for confirmation to the Kansas Board of Regents. I already know some of you on this committee from my years in the legislature, but for the others who don't know me or don't know me well, I will provide a little background and then stand for any questions you might have. I was born in Pittsburgh, Kansas, but my family moved to Kansas City, Kansas when I was very young, and I've lived there ever since. Kansas City, Kansas is where my family calls home. After graduation from Bishop Ward High School, I attended Kansas City, Kansas Community College for 2 years before completing my education at KU in Lawrence. I received my bachelor's and my master's degree in social work. After graduating, I worked in the field of social work for a time, but determined that this career path just wasn't for me. However, I have the utmost respect and appreciation for those that do this type of work. Eventually, in 1995, I began work in local government in Wyandotte County, where I served as campaign manager and chief of staff for then Mayor Carol Marinovich. During these 10 years, we consolidated the governments of Wyandotte County and Kansas City, Kansas. I truly believe this was the beginning of the turnaround for a struggling, and some might say dying, community at the time. On the heels of consolidation, we attracted the interest of the International Speedway Corporation, and the Kansas Speedway was built in our community. After that, we initiated the development of the Legends Shopping Center, which includes, as you know, Nebraska Furniture Mart, Cabela's, and many other popular stores. Significant other commercial and retail development followed, which markedly changed the face of western Wyandotte County. New home building accelerated as we began to slowly reverse the years of decline. These 10 years were certainly a highlight of my career. The team I had the honor to work with was remarkable, and the progress that was achieved has been built upon in the years since. Then in 2005, when the mayor's term ended, I went to work for the University of Kansas Health System. I've remained there for the past 19 years, although on a part-time basis now. Just to provide a little clarity, I work for the health system, the clinical or the hospital side of the campus, as opposed to the School of Medicine, KU Med. Now, if you have someone in the hospital or going to the doctor there, they all call it KU Med, and that is perfectly fine. But for the purposes of this hearing, I wanted to assure you that I do not work for the Med Center, since they would become under the Regents organization. So the hospital is a public authority. In 1998, they were created by the legislature by statute. So they're what's called quasi-governmental. So that means created by the government, but run independently with their own board of directors. My work is in community relations, which involves work with local chambers, economic development councils, and local governments. I also lead the team for Experience KU, and I might just stop right there and extend an invitation to you. We do a program 3 times a year at KU Health System. We call it Experience KU. It takes about 3/4 of a day, but it's a fabulous experience. You get to experience the various work that goes on there. For example, you might be standing on the helipad and watch a helicopter land, and they simulate what happens with a stroke patient. You might have the opportunity to go to the burn unit and see what goes on there, or go to transplant and act as though you're a patient and see the process they go to. And then we always end the program with one of our world-class doctors. In April, the doctor will be talking about brain health and specializes. He's like world-class leader in Alzheimer and dementia. So if anybody's interested in it, we always have a few legislators attend. We would welcome you, and I'd love to have you as our guest. Then in 2010, while I was still working for the health system, the House seat in my district became available with the retirement of Margaret Long. I really realized that I truly missed public service and filed for election and won. I began my 12 years in the Kansas House of Representatives in 2011. My experience in the Kansas House is one I will always treasure. It was a great honor to represent my community and work hand in hand with so many talented legislators from across the state and across both aisles. I found special meaning in working on various behavioral health issues and legislation throughout my legislative career. I believe we advanced the ball down the field in this arena, but I also believe there's much work left to do. I also spent 8 years on the Appropriation Committee, 6 as a ranking Democrat. I am hopeful, if confirmed, this budget experience will serve me well as a Kansas regent. I retired 2 years ago, but today I continue to work for KU Health System on a part-time basis. Among the boards I serve on, the one that has particular relevance to the work involving higher education is the Wyandotte Economic Development Council. I am past chairman of the board and current member of this organization. My experience on this board reminds me of the absolute link between economic development and higher education. The president of the organization, Greg Kendall, reminds us that although economic development used to be about location, 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 it's now about talent, talent, talent. And they're doing some very impressive work to help fill the talent pipeline. In Wyandotte County, we have among the highest median wage in the state, but we're only 61st out of 105 counties in median income. So there's obviously is a disconnect, and we are diligently working to make sure our citizens are given opportunities and pathways to the education they need to hold these jobs. I'm happy to expand on a few of these initiatives if you're interested during question and answer period. In closing, I would say that my interest in serving in this role grew out of my experience in the legislature. That is where I learned about the very important work the regions do in Kansas. And on a more personal level, my family all have good careers that they enjoy, and that is good to a very good system of higher education in Kansas. In my family, we have KU grads, K-State grads, Pittsburgh grads, and even a Rutgers grad. I feel like this is my chance to give back and to give my time, effort, and energy to the state and help ensure that other families have the same opportunities that my family had. Thank you for your time and attention today. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Committee, what questions do we have? Senator Gossage?
If I may, Madam Chair, I first want to say my apologies for all of the little jumping around.
No problem.
The other JAG-K state officers were speaking. They thought in this education committee, it turns out it was the House Education Committee, so I was directing them on how to get the
No
House
problem.
education. I enjoyed your coming to my office and taking the time to visit with me. I think I pretty well answered or asked my questions there, and you answered them. And as I said, I was surprised you weren't still in the house. Came in, I'm like, hey, how's it going over there? I'm like, well, no, I'm not in the house anymore. You know, we so seldom see each other unless we serve on a joint or an interim committee.
Right.
We don't see the House members all that often. So thank you again for being here, and thank you for coming to visit me in my office.
Thank you so
Madam
much,
Chair.
Senator Gossage.
Senator Argabright?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kathy, thank you for your, first of all, your resume of public service. Thank you for all of that.
Thank you, Senator.
I want to expand maybe more on workforce, and I guess tell us how, as a Board of Regents, how you can influence our regent schools to make sure we're aligned in preparing workforce people to the state of Kansas.
I think that's actually the key, and the work that some of the region schools, and I'm just learning, keep in mind, some of the region schools are doing in applied learning. I had the opportunity to go down and visit Wichita State, and just as a precursor to possibly being a regent, and the work they're doing with applied learning is amazing, and most of these jobs are paid. So Wichita tends to be according to their president, a high-need school, and so the opportunity to earn while they learn, I think really allows many students to go to school. In Wyandotte County, some of the things we're doing with the Wyandotte Economic Development Council to kind of close that gap, one of them is a program I don't know if you're familiar with. It's called FAME, the Federation of Advanced Manufacturing Education. That's a program that was created by Toyota. The Manufacturing Institute sort of adopted that program, and they started opening chapters around the United States. Now, they're mostly on the East Coast, but the first one west of St. Louis is at Kansas City, Kansas Community College. The whole idea behind this program is to prepare people for a workforce need. Manufacturing technology is an emerging workforce need, robotics, electronics, and similar types of fields. So how the program works in Kansas City, Kansas, and it's a partnership between lots of organizations. They have a program that they go through at the community college 2 days a week, and then the other 3 days a week, they are matched and employed by a manufacturing organization in the community. They're paid, and they can make, over 2 years, working part-time, about $33,000. The advantage of that, of course, is that they're able to cover their community college costs with that and then some, and they get to try out an industry and make sure it's a good fit for them. The industry gets to try them out, and some of those students after that then go on to an engineering degree because they've stimulated an interest in that. So that's one example of how we're trying to fill the pipeline in Wyandotte County.
Madam Chair, thank you. I personally would appreciate that influence. We need more people in our state and skilled. So
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Sykes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Kathy, for being here. Thank you also for sharing your experience about being the ranking on approps. And I think that's a really great perspective to bring into the Board of Regents because you understand the complexities of the budget and being able to share that with the other members of the board. But my question for you, and I think it kind of goes with workforce there, and I've been able to attend one of those things at the KU Health Systems Experience Day, and if you do it, I would encourage all of you to do it, but it's exhausting. You are so tired at the end of that. But something that I learned about there was the GED program and the way that KU Health System is helping people kind of continue on with that education and career paths.
Thank you for that question. I'd love to talk about this program because we're so proud of it. So our Jeff Navor, he's our Vice President of Hospitality Services at KU Health System. He was having trouble hiring people for entry-level jobs because we had a requirement that you had to have a GED, and even at that level, we were not getting the employees we needed. So he decided to try an experiment and remove the need for a GED. So basically, you're hired with no educational requirements, but at the same time, we partnered with Kansas City, Kansas Community College. So they come on campus and you take your classes as the employee during your work hours while you're getting paid. In addition, you get a laptop, you get a mentor from the leadership team. Because let's face it, a lot of people might not have completed their high school education because they didn't have a good mentor. Maybe they didn't have a parent available. So you get all those things. You know, you think about the barriers are removed. You're trying to get your GED, you're working full-time, you're tired at night, you don't want to go to classes, you might have to get babysitting, can't afford the expenses involved with it. So this removes all the barriers. And the student then, when they complete the class, they go through a regular graduation, complete with cap and gown. We have a graduation speaker, and it is probably one of the most emotional graduations you will ever attend. Because these are people that have probably been embarrassed all their life because they didn't go farther in their education. And I have to tell you, we get a loyal employee out of it, and they obviously get their high school education, and many times they go on and they further their education after that. So it's really a win-win. I believe, at least it's the only program I know about like that in the state of Kansas. So I think it's a great idea that I wish would sort of spread across Kansas, and think of the people we could get in the pipeline if we could just get more people to get their GEDs.
Senator Petty.
You're going to be first, too. So I have to confess, I've known Kathy for a long, long time. She actually went to high school with my sister, so I knew her, and my sister is 10 years younger than me, so I knew them as very young people. But then we, of course, served up here together, and we actually were roommates together here as we in Topeka. So, many of you know this, and some of you don't, but I was a commissioner with the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas. So I was a commissioner with Kathy, was the chief of staff for Mayor Carol Marinovich. So I knew her in that capacity as well. I'll just give I'm going to ask her a question, but I'm going to give a shout out because I have to say that, and we're very good friends, so I have to say that it's hard for me to think of anybody else that I know that has such a positive personality all the time. And with everyone, even if she doesn't agree with you, she'll come in with a positive approach. So that's always, I think, is such a winning way, and as I do believe has also made her very successful in the multiple roles that she's served in. And why, for like with the Economic Development Council, why she's been on that. But I appreciate your sharing with the GED program because Wyandotte County has one of the lowest rates of people with high school diplomas in the state of Kansas. So this is a great way for increasing that educational level in our county and keeping those people then, as she said, loyal employees and remaining as residents of Wyandotte County. But Kathy, could you share a little bit about how you see your experience at working in appropriations and with the behavioral health issues as you move on to working with the regions?
Well, with the Appropriations Committee, of course, you have the opportunity to see the big picture, to see the breadth and depth of the budget. And I think I know those of you who've served on Ways and Means or Appropriations in your career, the pressures that there are, you know, the ask, the push and the pull on that. And every organization wants to have enough resources to do their mission. So it's tough work. And what I always worried about was not doing damage, you know, funding them appropriately so I didn't do damage. As for my experience in mental health and my focus on that in the legislature, you know, we focus so much on K-12, you know, the mental health pilot project. I don't even know if they call it pilot anymore since it's been around a while, but that's been an enormously successful program, partnering the community mental health centers and K-12. And you know what we haven't talked about a lot, at least to my knowledge, is what's going on in the various regions and community colleges and technical colleges across the state. So one thing I'm going to be very interested in is what are the services on campus and how robust are those? One interesting little story that I heard about, K-State, so they have a program, I don't know if any of you have heard it, it's called the Green Bandana. It's a novel idea. So they have certain students that have been trained and some of the educators, and they're trained with resources and look for the signs of possibly depression or crisis in students, and they wear a green bandana on their backpack. And so if someone feels like they're struggling or someone notices someone struggling, that's a safe person to go to, help you get directed to the proper resources, and hopefully get help before it's a crisis point. I think the biggest thing we need to do, though, is the more we remove the stigma in mental health, the more people will reach out for services. Younger generations are much better than my generations. I mean, we all reach out when someone has cancer, heart disease. We're bringing food, sending flowers, cards. But mental health, many times you don't know about it, that they're even struggling, and people don't talk about it. So I think the biggest thing that would help, not just our generation, but the students at the various schools around the state, is to do everything we can to continue to remove the stigma so people will reach out and get the help they deserve.
Senator Shane.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you so much for submitting yourself to the appointment and confirmation process. I know that that's not an easy undertaking, and in reviewing your packet, really there's only one material problem I see, and I'm sure that in your heart of hearts you really wanted to go to Kansas State.
Well, I did have a daughter who went there.
One question for you is that, you know, obviously workforce is a significant challenge for our state, and but outside of that, what do you see with what you've experienced so far as something that you would see as a top challenge or a top priority for the Board of Regents here in the next few years?
Great question. I think there's always affordability. That's always going to be at the top of the list. But beyond that, enrollment declines. So it's starting to level off. And in fact, KU, I believe, and K-State, maybe they've had an uptick in their enrollment. I think KU has a record freshman enrollment. But overall, there's been somewhat an enrollment decline. And I think there's reasons for that. I think probably the pandemic had a little bit to do with it. I think they're talking about the enrollment cliff now. So 2007, 2008, people didn't have as many children as they're having now. So those kids are now 17 and 18 years old, so there's just not as many to enter the colleges. I also think some kids aren't choosing higher ed because the job market what it is today. I mean, it's a pretty robust job market as opposed to a tight one. And so I think some people are gaining employment that maybe traditionally they wouldn't have been able to achieve those jobs without more education. You know, I think we always have to remember, though, that the job market can change and become tight again. And those very people that got those jobs may not have the education for advancement or may be subject to layoff. So I think there's always a good case to be made for higher ed. So I think those are the main issues we have to worry about. And I think there's things we can do, too. I think we probably have to focus on the a different type of student. For example, the first generation college goers, where we're going to have to reach out to them and get them engaged. And it's harder for those kids, no doubt. The adult students that didn't finish, the adults who didn't finish and need to go back, veterans who need to go back to college, people involved with the justice system that are now trying to find their way and get a job. So I think that we have to, there's a problem with this enrollment, but I think there's things we can do. But it's probably not as easy as the traditional student, probably like a lot of your children and my daughters, you know, they went away to school for 4 years. We paid the bill or most of the bill, and they just had to worry about doing well in their classes and picking a career. There's so many students where that's just not the case. I didn't know about this, and I should have. When I was in Manhattan doing a tour of K-State's campus, they have a food pantry, and I understand they have those on most campuses. I wasn't aware of that. So students, we have to meet these basic needs. I can't imagine going to a class and studying for a test if I was hungry. So I think we have to look at all those needs of this different population that we want to attract and get them moving through our institutions of higher ed. Thank you.
Senator Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to take sort of a different approach to this because, you know, we go through these committees, these hearings, and we ask a lot of questions and we drill down, but I want to tell just a quick little bit about the human side of Kathy Wolfmore here. So we served in the House together 4 years. We were on a couple committees together on education, and I can tell you as a legislator and a person, there were times we fell on the same side on an issue and many times we didn't. But the ability to have a critical thinking conversation, come to a conclusion, and be able to sometimes say, okay, that makes more sense, let's go that route. I think just knowing you personally and working with you in the legislature, I will say that I have no doubt that you can do that in your position as a Board of Regents. And another human story about this person that I'll never forget. Sometimes we talk about outside of the legislature. Once we're done in our careers, it's kind of like, okay, they go away, and that's, you know, there's not always that keeping in touch and all of that. But when I got laid up in the hospital for a couple of days, it was at KU Med, and within not even an hour or two of getting there, I don't know how she got wind I was there, but she dropped what she was doing, and she rushed up to come check on me. And so for me, not only does that show the human side of a person, that they're willing to put politics aside for the good of people, but that's the kind of person personally that I want to be successful. And it's things like that that you just never forget. And I am proud to call you my friend, and I'm proud that you're where you are, and I am very glad to support you in this role.
Thank you so much, Senator Thomas.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of hard to follow that, isn't it? And
that's okay if you don't want to.
And Senator Shane took my question about what do you see as some of the challenges of higher ed, and I think you addressed any question I may have on that. So thank you so very much. Our committee, any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so very much. Committee, I do want to acknowledge we do have the chair of the Board of Regents with us today, Mr. Carl Ice. Welcome. Good to see you. Committee, I am going to kind of break a little bit here with tradition. It's not unprecedented, but I am unaware of any reason to postpone a motion to move Ms. Wolfmore as our nominee for Board of Regents. So unless someone objects, I would be happy to entertain a motion at this time. Senator Petty.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to pass Kathy Wolfmore out favorably as recommended for the Board of Regents.
We have a motion by Senator Petty, a second by Senator Thomas. Any discussion on the motion? I'm just going to make her wait just a little longer, just because we're letting her off the hook. I know the waiting is the hardest part. Having a motion and a second and no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. We will make that recommendation to the floor of the Senate to approve her favorably for confirmation. Committee, we will not be meeting tomorrow or Monday. We have... Second. We do have, I do want to draw your attention, we do have 2 bill hearings on Tuesday. We have a hearing on SB 50 and SB 44, so come prepared for that. Seeing no other business before the